So potentially the rear quarter could be replaced, worst case scenario. Now moving back over to the driver's side, when I took the trim panel off there, I could see that the crease was the same on the driver's side as well. So completely normal. So the next thing to do was to pull it into the unit to investigate further. I heated up the rear panel just to see if it would pop out itself, but no luck there. I then removed the arch lining to have a look underneath the arch, and well, nothing obvious I could see. So my next step was to heat it all up and just try and pull it out a little bit myself to see if I could get anywhere near. Okay, so I'm just progressively making this worse. I've never had any experience with sort of body shop work, and well, I probably should just leave it here. Which kind of leaves me with sort of two options with this, and the body shop guys may or may not know which one that I should go for. Option one, this can be fixed by a fairly experienced body shop. I reckon with a little bit of manipulation and some body filler, well, quite a bit of body filler, just to pat this all out, it could possibly work, but I don't know. The body shop guys will probably let me know in the comment section below. That probably could be filled up and made to look nice. I've seen a lot worse fixed. And option two, which would be a shame just because of this sort of gap, would be to buy a full rear quarter and spot weld it in, which would cost over £1,000. That's excluding VAT, so fairly expensive. But I don't know, I've got a fair amount of confidence with a bit of body work that you could get this door to sit nice and flush with this rear quarter without looking like there's anything done to it. Oh, and there is an option three which I completely forgot about, and that would be to kind of wide arch this thing, which we're sort of doing with the C63 anyway, and I don't really want to do it to the Vogue. I just want this, I think a nice body kit, not a wide arch kit, would just suit this nicely, so I'm going to stick with the body work on this one. As for the dents on the driver's side, like these, I've got my guy Rob from Auto Dents, and he's came out and done the S3, and he's done dents on the C63 as well, so I'm sure he can come out and blast all the dents out on the driver's side. They are completely minor. So ignoring the rear quarter damage now, I popped over to the door that I just removed to take off the door card and some of the other electrical parts to move them over to the new door. Now I am going to replace this little computer here off the old door back onto the new door as well, just so everything is as original as I left it. And with that all installed, I could pop on the door card and then I could check to make sure everything worked. Why? And to my disappointment, the window did not go up and down. So my first suspect was the electric motor for the window regulator. Luckily, my old door has a working motor on it, so I'm just going to take the one off the new door and replace it with the one off the old door. And hopefully that should solve the problem. Goes the old motor off the old door. Fingers crossed this time it will work. And what do you know? It worked, but not properly. It went down little bits by bits and refused to go up. I had to force it up with my hands. Okay, so we don't know whether this is the issue or not, but I've just had a look at the wiring loom on the old door, and it actually has a second plug for a little mechanism which mounts here, which actually goes to the door lock, which obviously will probably be the soft close. This door probably doesn't have soft close. I don't know whether that's got anything to do with the window regulator, but all I know is that if I want the soft close to work, which I kind of do, and I want the window to work, I've got to change over the whole wiring loom. So in 3, 2, 1. So here's the wiring loom off the old door. As you can see on this branch here, there's two sort of square connectors, and this one is off the new door, and there's only one square connector on there. So as the evening was drawing in, I had to reroute the old wiring loom out of the old door into the new door, which, believe me, wasn't fun. Along with the wiring loom, I replaced the lock and also the soft close mechanism as well. And this time, fingers crossed it works. All right. Try it. After all this, please tell me it works.
Should I turn the car on?
Yeah, turn the car on. We're losing daylight.
Are you ready to walk fast? Oh!
Yes, it went up. And it goes down. Oh, no! How was that the issue?
The soft close.
How was the soft close the issue after all that?
It goes down on its own, though.
Oh my god. Wow. Okay. How was that the issue?
In short, this car is full.
One down, another to go. So it's time to strip down that old rear door so I could get the glass out of it and put it into the new rear door. Okay, it gets better. You won't believe this. I've just been working out how to take the glass out of that window so I could put it in the new door. My plan was to take out all the electrics and the speaker and everything and transfer it into there. Now, on this door, it did actually come with this bit bolted onto it, so I thought I'll take that off and have a look at where the window is. Turns out, there's a window in there already. So, actually, this door, which I got for £300, and that one for £250, was an absolute bargain, which came with a window as well. I didn't even realise that that came with a window. So that, well, the only one thing now is just got to find out whether it all works, because I'm pretty sure I tried to do this window up and it didn't work, hence why I thought it had no window in it. So, maybe I need to transfer over all the electrics, but I'll figure that out in a second. So first thing I noticed on the new door, this little computer has 2 connections, and on the old door, this has 1 connection. And also the wiring loom in the new door, the part number started with GK52, and on the old door, it started with DK52. A slight difference, but it seems that all the difference matter on this Range Rover. So again, it's the case of switching over the wiring looms. Now, because the window was down in the door, it made it very difficult to reroute the wiring loom, so I had to sort of plug it in and wind the window up whilst I was doing it. Okay, the moment of truth is here. Does everything work on the door? Soft close works. Yeah, we'll ignore this bit. Does the door lock? I think it is keyless entry, so I can't go near it with a key, but yes, it locks. Come on. And finally, to test the window, I'll start it up for this one. Window down. Yes! Come on! So I now know the inside of a Range Rover door like the back of my hand, and if anybody asks me to work on a Range Rover door again, well, the simple answer is no. But we have made some good progress on the Vogue, and we're moving in the right direction, and so far it has only cost me around £550 for 2 doors. Yes, they're a little off colour. I've just got a feeling that this part is going to cost me a fair amount more than £550. Or maybe it won't. Let me know in the comment section. Now, if you remember in the first video, this door used to hit this bonnet when opening, but now I've jigged it around a bit and it's perfect. It doesn't catch at all, and it lines up fairly decent. It's a little bit lower. I could do with a little more readjusting, but I've had enough of Range Rover doors at the minute. Another thing I noticed, I took the arch lining out of here, and the bracket for the intercooler, well, it's non-existent. So, but we'll get to that when we strip the front bumper apart. And there's still a fair amount to do on this side. One thing that I have to change is this door handle from this one to the old one, because, well, that's got 2 lines in it, and the original one has just a little hole in it. Oh, and I've just found out, if you touch it, that actually opens and closes the car. Oh, look at that, and the mirrors fold. I didn't know it did that, so that's what that's missing on that. Oh no, it does still work. Yeah, when you touch it, it does still work. It's actually locking the car. So, but I'm gonna have to change it anyway because, well, it just looks different. And also the hinges on this door are a little bit off as well. I'm gonna have to adjust them. As you can see, this door is a fair amount lower than this door, but I really do want to see a Range Rover out on the street to see how perfectly everything lines up and how big the panel gap is between the 2 doors, because I don't know how good it was from the start.
Hand on the game, we are not playing the same. No, we're not looking to change. Hand on the wheel.
Now, we're sort of gathered by now that the Range Rover has been rolled. Well, it's been half rolled into a ditch, and most of the damage being on this passenger side. And after fitting a new door to it, well, this door is closed, yet it still looks open.
Got the remote, made it as far as a miracle. Anything less than.
Now, a lot of you guys have been helping me out in the comments, which I'm so thankful for. And you've been saying that Range Rovers, panel gaps, and door alignments are never normally great from factory anyway. And you know what? You ain't half wrong. I only saw a brand new Range Rover sitting in a car park just a week ago, and well, the doors weren't best aligned. So me being worried about this door
alignment here and the door alignment at the back maybe isn't as bad as I first thought.
But I definitely think we could get it a lot better than it is.
But as for this is definitely not right.
Now, the response to the Range Rover content has been absolutely unreal, and I can't thank every single one of you enough, because it feels like we're all rebuilding this together.
The problem is we have experts in the comment section and then people who think they're experts.
And to be honest, it's pretty difficult to work out who is and who isn't. So instead, you've got me, and as you know, I'm not a mechanic, I learn as I go along. So I will make mistakes, but I still can't thank you guys enough for trying to help me out on this. But with that said, there's plenty to get on with, including replacing the dashboard because of this airbag. So let's get this in the unit. So we'll go back to that door later on in the video, but if you remember from the very first video of the Range Rover, there was damage to this driver's side suspension. The inner tie rod had actually popped out. I managed to pop it back in for the meantime, but it's definitely not safe to leave it that way. If you look behind the boot here, you can see the little ball joint which pops into the tie rod. So I marked the track rod with a bit of Tipp-Ex just so I roughly know where it goes, but more than likely the tracking is going to be way out on this Range Rover after the crash. Then I could undo it from the steering rack side and then also the track rod end side.
Taking our heads up, wondering when the well went dry, asking where it all went.
Now that Tipp-Ex mark should just give me a rough area of where I should adjust the new inner tie rod to, so I can get it just about right. And with the rubber boot and the bolts switched over onto the new inner tie rod, I can start bolting it on to the car. Trying to get it roughly where the old one was, but yes, this car will definitely need to be tracked. There's plenty more issues on this driver's side front end, including this intercooler, which is wobbling around all over the place. The intercooler actually seems okay, but the brackets around it are absolutely battered. But we'll address that again later in the video. Now I can move on to the door handle. This door handle, which came with this front door, is completely different to the other door handles on the car. So I'm going to switch it over from the old one. Pretty easy job to do. There's just a little grommet on the inside of the door, and then you can access a T30 bolt in there. You don't want to unscrew it all the way out though, because the bolt may fall inside the door and then you're in trouble. Just loosening it off will be enough just to pull the door handle out and then pop the new one, well, the old one, back in.
At the time, they're making
Now I've got to move the C63 out of the way, and here's me wondering why the front indicator is not working. But again, that's going to have to be another video. Airbags. Now, a lot of people get put off when buying crash damaged cars if the airbags are gone.
And that's because most of the time you need to replace the full dashboard as long as the steering wheel airbag, and sometimes, like in this case, the seat belts as well, because, well, they lock out like this.
Luckily on the Range Rover, no curtain airbags have gone off. They usually go off if it's a side impact, although this was a side impact because it rolled on the side, but the curtain airbags haven't gone off, so that's lucky. Airbags. The steering wheel airbag, not so bad. The passenger side airbag, bad. Making it one of the most labour intrusive jobs you can do, as the whole dashboard has got to be replaced. Now before replacing any dashboard, I like to take out both front seats just to give me a little bit more room. You can see both the bolts here at the front, and there's two more at the back with a load of electrical connectors underneath. The front seat belts are actually bolted to the seats on this model, so they will have to be removed before the seats come out as well. But for some reason during this accident, the front seat belts didn't lock out, which is good for me really. With the seats out, we are now ready to tackle the dashboard.
So the seats are out, ready to attack the dashboard now, which could be easy or it could be slightly difficult.
So the only sort of cheat code to this is to buy the dashboard before, that way I can see where all the little bolt holes are, so I know where to expect them on that dashboard.
And as I mentioned, I've never done one on a Range Rover, and by the looks of it, there are bolt holes absolutely everywhere, so God knows how this is going to go. Another thing that you may notice is that I have a cream or whitey coloured airbag for the steering wheel, and the one that's in the car, well, it's black.
And that is because finding an airbag kit with all black dashboard and an all black airbag was actually really difficult, and the cheapest one that I actually could find was about £900.
Whereas the one that I actually got was £400, and that was for the dashboard and the steering wheel airbag. The only thing that I'm missing is the seat belts.
But I'm just putting this off now. Let's crack on with stripping the dashboard.
Want me to lock it down, but I told her to pass the key.
Now, whilst we're replacing the dashboard, we're going to be doing some upgrades as well. But first, we need to get the old dashboard out. First off, we need to remove the steering wheel airbag by poking a little screwdriver in the hole, which will release the airbag from the steering wheel. And then there's just a few connectors on the back, which, well, I had a lot of trouble getting these off. They seem to have almost melted to the steering wheel, and I ended up having to break them out. But with the airbag out, there's just one bolt to undo the steering wheel now, and then I can start attacking the steering column. We need to get the clock spring off with the indicator stalk and the wiper stalk, as the dashboard won't lift over that when we're removing it. Now, with this car being fairly new and having loads of technology in it, there is tons of electrical connectors and so many bolts in places that you wouldn't even imagine. And it was just a case of working out where all the bolts were located. But finally I managed to gain access to the 2 bolts which hold the clock spring to the steering column, and now I can slide that off the steering column. There's a few more bolts holding in the digital display and a lot of electrical connectors at the back, and the same for the head unit and the climate control. Now, normally I disconnect the battery when doing this, but you'll see why I had to keep the battery connected in a minute. Now, on the passenger side, I removed some trim to reveal some loose wires, which looked like there used to be a dash cam in the car or some sort. I'd love to see the footage of when it got crashed. Now, to open the glove box on the car, it's electronically controlled with a switch, so if I disconnect the battery, I wouldn't have been able to open it, and I wouldn't have been able to access some of the bolts. And believe me, there was a lot of bolts. But once I got the glove box out, and there was sort of 2 glove boxes, a lower one and an upper one, it revealed the main bolts which hold the dashboard to the actual body of the car. And most of them were pretty easy and straightforward to access, apart from 2, which were right at the back of the dashboard, and the windscreen was kind of in the way of getting my ratchet in. You can see me climb out here just to have another second look at where those bolts were. I eventually managed to get the ratchet in there and remove those 2 bolts, and finally get the dashboard out of the car. So, I think I'm gonna need counselling after this one, because this is definitely the worst dashboard that I've ever had to pull out. There was bolts where there shouldn't be bolts, even worse than the Audi that we did.
So everything went okay apart from the airbag, of course, and these clips, well, they just look like they've almost melted into the back of the airbag, and I had no other choice just to break them and get them out. And even if you look at the new one here, it looks a similar sort of story. This is it's really corroded as well.
Now, there was a serious amount of bolts, but actually, looking at it, it's not too hard to work out what bolts go where. There's only really 3 types of bolt. You've got this bolt here, the 10mm, which actually held the dash